Um, it's very encouraging to see so many people here this evening. As I'm sure you might have gathered that with something like our annual parish meeting being held in this type of format, without our opportunity to encourage you to attend with a glass of wine, it was not clear how many people were going to make the effort to come and join us. But I'm really delighted to see so many of you here this evening. So thank you very much indeed. So I think the first item on our agenda is to hear from the guys from Men's Shed. Is that correct, Katie?
Yeah, indeed.
So I guess, gosh, Peter, I guess you're speaking, and I'm looking for. Oh, there you are, Phil. Sorry, you're over. There are enough faces on here. I'm struggling to see everybody. So Phil's going to be driving, I think. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
And Peter's going to be speaking. So we're really interested in the Men's Shed initiative. Certainly we at the council have been quite excited by that. So we're really pleased to hear what you guys have to say. So I think if Katie hands over the shared screen to Phil, then there it goes.
Oh, scary monster stuff, Phil.
Yes,
this is all pretty scary to us. New technology. Anyway, I'm here tonight on behalf of the National Men's Institute, to give a presentation for a proposed men's shed in our community. And when I said presentation, I presumed that it would be entertainment. So I have brought my spoons. That'll get you worried. Next slide, please. In 2002, I played badminton with my good friend Pam Howlett, who is president of the WI. And for 2 years, with tongue-in-cheek and much good-tempered humor, I tried to join. And she basically told me to get lost for 2 years. And then she gave in. She said, okay, you can come, but only as a guest speaker. So she got a book out. She said, what's your topic? I said, why can't men join WI when women can join every single men's group or club? To which she advised me to place my head in a pan of water and put it on the hob, or words to that effect. Anyway, with a pal of mine, Peter McHale, we met Pam's husband, Richard, and we went off for a bike ride. And I decided then we would form, for gender equality, we would form the Men's Institute. And pretty soon we had about 50 members. And we did monthly cycle rides and outings, cracking outings we did. I could spend an hour on that. And the rides all around the area, fantastic, really successful. And for a bit of gravitas, I decided to call us the National Men's Institute. But because I did, I was getting emails from all around the country of men who wanted to join MI, and there was no men's groups in their area. The National Health actually wrote to me and asked if we could help them set up men's groups around the country. There's such a shortage of them. And WI had been successful in the mental health community, introducing women's groups. So I had to tell them, you know, we're only local, really. And anyway, a couple of the consultants did write to us individually, and a couple of our chaps wrote to them, and that was quite something, I thought. Next slide, please. Oh, that's one of the outings we did. Where's that? That's Eton Boating Lake, where they did the Olympics. Yeah. Next slide, please. Right, the National Men's Institute is just about friendship, really. It's about a group of men going out, having a bit of exercise, having a bit of banter, taking the mickey, and having a cup of tea halfway and a chat, which was always enjoyable. And we're not formal. It's not run by a committee, or it's all voluntary. And it's successful. It's been really good. If you ask any of the chaps who belong. Next slide, please. Sadly, over the years, because we're all knocking on a bit, about half the group had to drop out because of their dodgy knees and hips and creaking joints. And they all said how much they missed the banter the camaraderie, the well-being. So we decided we would form a men's shed in our community. It would just be such a good place. Sorry, the pandemic. Yeah, we're all aware of that pandemic, and we're suffering from it as well. And a men's shed, once it's over, would be such a good place for men to meet. Men's sheds, they're a national organisation set up to pursue interests, physical crafts, make, do and mend, spoon playing. Sorry about that. I went to Yateley Men's Shed for the shutdown, and they were making tactile pieces for people who are suffering with dementia, you know, pieces that could take to wooden bits that could take to pieces. And a great place for having a cup of tea and a chat if you're just fed up, really. Anyway, they found that loneliness and isolation has a negative impact, especially us older chaps. They found that it's bad for us as obesity and smoking cigarettes. In fact, some studies have actually got it down to 15 cigarettes a day, same as. And typically men find it difficult to build social connections, much more than women. You know, we rarely talk about our problems, about our health, about our worries. You know, if we've got a form to fill in, we shrink. And when retirement comes along, you know, it can feel like you lost your personal identity, your sense of purpose, and not belonging anymore. But the men's sheds have proved that it can change all that. It's about meeting like-minded people, somebody to share your worries with, community spirit. It helps them get over mental problems, and it's just proven to be so good for so much. Next slide, please, Mr. Whitty. Yeah, health is so important. That should have gone on before, but yeah, just to show we have a heart. Can you next slide, please? Potential venue, and working with our parish council, who I must say they've been so helpful, so positive, and we want to thank Katie and Aaron particularly. They just said yes, 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 we can help, and we thank them very much. Even if they kick us out now, they really have been helpful. Thanks. Anyway, they identified provisionally a building behind St. Sebastian's Memorial Hall, which could be used for a shed. And obviously the project's open to all the men in the locality. We've got interest in this project from a lot of our men, and we've got enough volunteers and skills to undertake, you know, maintenance work and stuff. And other sheds have found local publicity. Once it gets going, it takes off. And, you know, enthusiasm and success has got momentum. Next slide, please. And this is the building that's been identified. Some of you might recognize it. Next slide, please. Anyway, it's hope the access to the memorial, we can have access to the Memorial Hall toilets, because no one knocking on, you know, our prostate glands expand, and well, I can have 2 pints and I can pee 4. Anyway, enough of that. We understand the site's going to be developed with landscape, many features, interesting features. We reckon we could be a great benefit here. We would be on site. We could show people around. If they've got old people's homes coming, you know, they're always looking for places to go with a bit of fresh air, and we could show them. We would be on site. You know, people with dementia, we could show them. Kids groups from the school. We feel we could be such a positive for this site, and we'd extra security for the hall. The shed, we will obviously have to be a lot more formal than we are now. You know, we'll have to have trustees and a committee, and all the usual health and safety requirements, and all that boring stuff, which is very important, and we will conform. Next slide, please. Now we're getting down to the nitty gritty. The building's precast concrete and it's cold. Believe you me, it is cold. And for us to move in there, you know, it'd be necessary to do a few bits to it. So we did a few costs, and the initial cost to insulate it, weather it, draft-proof it, a lot of electric sockets, some infrastructure is about £5,000. Actually, it doesn't look so bad if it's 5k, does it? Anyway, it is £5,000. We'll be self-funding, and the running costs of the sheds will be covered by our annual subscriptions, same as other sheds. And financing, now we're getting serious. To get up and running, we really would need some help with financing. Most of the other sheds that have got started, their council have helped them get started. And if the parish council could help us, we would be eternally grateful for them. And we might even fix a few bits for them if we get it going. And we feel that this would be such a great benefit to the men in this community. Not necessarily, but all, especially the retired men. Next slide, please. And as a matter of interest, this is Yateley Men's Shed. Yateley Town Council gave their men £30,000 to build a brand spanking new one. Look at that. And it's cracking inside. Next slide, please. Wokingham Men's Shed, they gave their men what was a changing room and toilet block, now converted. Next slide, please. That's something from the national organisation. I think I've pretty well covered all that's on there. Next slide, please. That's another one from the national organisation. But actually, that's what these figures are worth showing here. 510 sheds. When I was looking last week, there was 603 sheds, 49 under development. Look at these stats. 96% less lonely after joining a shed. 75% reduction in anxiety following regular attendance at a men's shed. 89% decrease in depression. 97% making friends. And I reckon that figure is probably £14,000 plus now. These are incredible stats. It is just proven to be such a good thing for men's health, for men's mental health. Next slide, please. If anybody's interested in joining, please contact me, p.keegan@talktalk.net, or phil.1947@btinternet.com. I'll just leave that up for a minute in case anybody's a slow writer like me. p.keegan@talktalk.net or phil.hart@1947. And the last one, the last slide, please. Right, and before I get my spoons out, thanks for giving us this opportunity. Are there any questions? Sorry if I rattled through it, but I just thought that was best to.
I think, Peter, firstly, thank you very much. Very interesting to see it all. And as you quite rightly said, the statistics are something to be proud of, I think, as an organisation.
Yeah, they are.
And I suspect, going back to the beginning of your talk, that the Women's Institute can boast the same sort of benefit.
Yes, they do.
And so, you know, it's a cracking idea to do something like this, which looks at the other 50% of our community. So that really is very good.
Yeah.
So looking around the room, has anybody got any specific questions they would like to ask? Yes, Janet.
Yes. Is the shed then open like 9 to 6, evenings, weekends? I mean, when you say the shed group will be there, are there set hours, or is it just, and who has the facility to lock, unlock, all that kind of stuff?
Well, there's lots of detail to be settled, but basically the other sheds, they start off They usually start off one day for a couple of hours, and then it builds up from there, and then it can be 7 days a week. Because the Wokingham ones, they had a lot of men who just come up because they were hacked off for a cup of tea and a chat.
Mhm.
And there's always somebody who'll be a key to coming up in it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anybody else got any questions they'd like to ask Peter?
Can I say something, Ken?
Yes, Jean.
I think it's a wonderful idea, but I'm involved with the Art Society and they store a lot of things in that shed. What's going to happen to their facilities?
One thing's a dead cert, Jean, is that something. Yeah, and at the moment there are ideas being kicked around as to how to address that. And so, you know, fear not. There's no intention of dumping all your stuff in the car park and saying
That's a relief.
so
I think there's other groups as well, don't they, store things in there?
I'm going to hand over to you, Katie. Yes.
Okay, so the other two groups that did previously store items in the shed have now ceased to operate out of the Memorial Hall, predominantly because of the pandemic, and it doesn't look like there's a plan for them to return. We are in the process at the minute of putting together a planning application for some storage at Pinewood, and the intention would be that we would offer you the opportunity to move the display units to storage at Pinewood if we can secure that.
Right, thank you.
I thought, Jean, that you were going to say you're looking forward to the men's shed so you can get rid of John for a bit.
Well, I didn't like to say that. He's sitting here.
Okie dokie. Does anybody else want to ask any questions of anybody here this evening? I'm just going to click to the next page to see if anybody's holding a hand. Did I see a hand go up? No. I think, Peter, we might have actually... Oh, sorry. Yeah, Janet, hello.
Hi there, Ken. I was just wondering if there are any, so far, it's only women that have asked questions of the men's shed.
Oh, hey, we can't escape women.
It seemed to me that Peter's presentation was excellent and said you everything you could possibly need to be told.
Thank you for holding the end up, John. But yes, indeed. Okay, so if everybody's finished questioning young Peter, then I will move on for the report from the parish council itself. But so thanks once again, Peter, and you are quite right. The parish council is very keen to be involved in your initiative. And as always, the devil is in the detail, as Jean has just made us all remember.
Yeah.
But you know, the question is more a case of not looking for problems, but looking for solutions. And so let's hope things can move on.
And it's not going to happen overnight.
No, we have. I can think of lots of things which we need to resolve, but I mean that's where the will between us should come together. So
Yeah, sure.
Thank you very much, and I'm going to move on now. I think you need to give me shared screen, do you, Katie?
You're a man. She's keeping it for the women.
Aha. There we go. And if you could just wait for a second and I'll... Right, okay. So yeah, so this is the report of our year, which has been an interesting one. Certainly this time last year, as I wrote the annual council report for 1920, I said that the year to early March 2020 had been an exceptionally busy one for the council. Fast forward 12 months, and I think I can say that the past year has been a challenge like no other. As we were planning our annual meeting last March, concerns over the virus were increasing and guidance was beginning to emerge for those more vulnerable to isolate. we actually managed to hold a somewhat slimmed down annual parish meeting on Monday, the 16th of March. And we were pleased to welcome Gregor Murray, the Wokingham Borough Council member for Climate Emergency, and obviously a number of extra residents too, to hear about ongoing work in the parish and the wider borough. But a week after the parish meeting, we were plunged into the first national lockdown. And in early April, the government passed legislation permitting councils to meet virtually. And our councillors quickly got to grips with digital meetings. I say quickly, we're all still learning this Zoom world that we inhabit now, aren't we? But I am pleased to say that we have been able to maintain our normal schedule of meetings throughout the whole 12 months. So that at one point we weren't sure we would be able to achieve that, but we did. Whilst we continued council meetings, many of our normal activities have actually been affected by the pandemic and the restrictions to control the spread of the virus, as we all know. Indeed, one of our key functions is letting the St. Sebastian's Memorial Hall, and that hosts many local groups and activities. The hall has unfortunately remained closed for much of the year. And whilst with additional measures in place for social distancing and additional cleaning, we were able to open for a while in the autumn. Many of the activities that really help bring our community together, such as the Fit for Life classes, can't start until after restrictions are lifted. The council is also responsible for the management of the Pinewood site, as you all know. And the pandemic has had a huge impact on Pinewood. While some of the club's activities have been able to adapt their activities to meet the COVID restrictions, unfortunately others have been able to do so safely. The parish council has tried to support the clubs and activities on site as much as we can, as we know how valued Pinewood is by the local residents, but there's only been so much that we can do. And the parish office located at the Pinewood site has also had to remain closed for much of the last year. Fortunately, our administrative staff were quickly able to adopt to working at home, whilst our grounds team and the litter picker have been able to continue to work on site and within the local community. As you would expect, the past 12 months have had a significant impact on the council's finances. With halls closed and restrictions on activities reducing our income, we've relied heavily on our reserves to see us through the current year. With the ongoing uncertainty over the council's income for the coming year, we've had to consider our budget very carefully. So for financial year 21-22, the year coming up, our precept will be increasing by 9%, or just over 10 pence a week for Band D dwelling. However, I'm pleased to say that our precept still remains about the average for the Wokingham Borough. So whilst the last year has been challenging, the council has continued to press forward with projects where restrictions have permitted. And I'm just going to go through some of those things now. He said, pressing the button and nothing happening. Okay, well, we have managed to produce our regular electronic newsletters. This is a new initiative we started to keep the residents aware of what's going on, and that we've been able to continue. We've been sharing updates on our activities and relevant information on COVID and other matters, and articles of interest to local residents. We've also launched a new parish website, and this was needed to meet the new accessibility standards. The new website, www.wokingham-pc.gov.uk, allows us to better share news and information, as well as making it easier for our residents to find out more about the parish council. We also continue to develop the website, so feedback from residents is most welcome. So please use the contact us button on the website to send us your comments. So that communication stuff's been very good. And also improvements to the Pinewood open spaces. So we've seen the delivery of new outdoor picnic benches and seating, and that's been kindly provided by our neighbours Johnson & Johnson Medical Limited. And this has enhanced the meadow area, pond area and toddlers play areas. And certainly made some big improvements there. And now, following the addition of new play equipment last March in the toddler play area, that's next to the Pinewood Hall, we've continued to develop the play areas with new fencing, which is, I'm sure you'll agree, a much better standard than we had before. Play surfaces, particularly the slide area, which was deemed to be unsafe, and of course around the trampoline, and also some improved signage. And recently we've taken delivery of more outdoor seating, which we're going to hope to install over the coming weeks. Also in the summer, we match funded the replacement of the windows in the Pinewood Scout Hut, home to the 2nd Crowthorne Scouts. This building is well used by local community groups and hosts many activities. So we were pleased to be able to help with that refurbishment and improve that. In addition to supporting the Scouts, the council has given grants to 17 local organisations to support the valuable work they do for our residents. And we've given 2 match-funded Wokingham Sports Awards for local residents aged under 18 who excel in individual sports. Now, you might think that we should have conserved our funds and not made these grants this year, but we actually considered it more essential than ever due to many organisations losing their income from subs, etc. In the late summer, we were excited to install new covered cycle sheds in Pinewood, which we hope will be of value to residents, certainly those who choose to use more active travel options when visiting the site. And we're obviously keen to encourage that, and providing this facility, we hope, will give people the confidence to use cycling and walking more. But in the wider community, we funded improvements to the surface of footpath 10 near Ludgrove, and we've worked with Wokingham Borough Council on improvements to Byway 28. That's between 9 Mile Ride and Heathlands Road. Earlier this year, we also published a walking route map entitled A Slow Walk to Wokingham, and that covers the Byway 28 route from the Memorial Hall to Wokingham Town Centre. The beautiful hand-drawn map features pictures and a description of the route, and we hope the residents will enjoy trying out the walk. Certainly, we have recently agreed to fund further improvements to the byway later this year, with the aim of creating an all-weather off-road cycling and walking route between the parish and Wokingham Town Centre. And you know, we'd like to see residents of Wokingham without actually use this as a way of getting into Wokingham Town Centre on a regular basis. I would also like to say that improving footpaths and facilitating walking and cycling are really important objectives for this council. And also in the early autumn of 2020, the car park at the popular Heath Lake site was resurfaced with tarmac and new cycle parking hoops installed. This was a joint project with Wokingham Borough Council and ourselves, but it was funded by the Parish Council. And we certainly hope that this will make Heath Lake a more visited amenity, but more importantly, it will make it much more convenient for people than the puddles were. And keeping on top of litter, yes, we've continued to promote the Adopt a Street scheme, and as a result, we've delivered litter picking equipment to residents who've offered to keep their local streets free of litter, and we've got an increasing number doing that. And we're also pleased to report that we've also signed up some local teens who are using their volunteer time to litter pick in the community as part of their work towards their Duke of Edinburgh Bronze Awards. Going forward, we're working with Crowthorne Parish Council and Crow to bring forward a litter-free strategy for the wider Crowthorne community. And as you can see from these pictures, we've got a long way to go still, but there's a will to do so. Now, our staff are also regularly reporting on issues such as fly tipping, highways damage, overflowing bins and broken street signs. And we keep an eye out on all of these. But residents can also report on these issues directly to Wokingham Borough Council. And they can do that either through the borough's website or through the Fix My Street app on a smartphone. That's the Fix My Street. So if you download that, we'll give you an opportunity to very quickly raise any problems with the borough. Now, this is interesting. We are pleased to support the work of Wokingham Without Heritage Group, who've now published A History of Pinewood Sanatorium. Now, the book covers the fascinating story of the Pinewood site since it was developed as a tuberculosis hospital in the very early 20th century. Details of where you can buy a copy of the book, priced at just £4, are available on the council website. And it's a highly recommended read. You will learn a lot, and it's an enjoyable experience to even find out what's been going on in our community before our time. This brings me to the behind the scenes work of the officers and councillors do. Here's our councillor group. The green ones are our borough councillors, and the white surrounded ones are our parish councillors. As I think you probably would all know, much of the detailed business of councils is undertaken in small working groups and routinely by the office staff. Where decisions are required, these are made at full council meetings. And the council meetings, whilst currently held online, are still open to the public, as indeed this one is. And we'd be delighted to see more of the public attend and indeed to ask questions of council. So please contact the parish office and get a link to join our meetings. Also, in addition to reviewing local planning applications, the council continues to engage with Wokingham Borough on matters relating to strategic planning. Progress on the borough's local plan, the 2026-2036, certainly appears to have stalled, with questions raised about the viability of further development in Graiseley. This had originally been identified as a location for delivering a large proportion of the future housing need for the borough. We're obviously awaiting further news on what impact this change in direction is going to have on our parish. Without the Graiseley opportunity, then obviously Wokingham have to look elsewhere for sites. Talking of sites, with regards to the development of land in the north of the parish, the Wokingham Without Strategic Development location, we understand that plans for the Southern Distributor Road are to be reviewed by the borough's council planning committee. It was going to be this month. It's now moved to May, and so given that there's going to be an election, then to be honest with you, we are unsure that May is even going to be hit. So it doesn't look like it's going to come quite so quick as we hoped. But progress with delivery of the road will mean that we are likely to start seeing proposals for the housing and also the other amenities that will be delivered with it, including a new community centre and, of course, the much anticipated sports hub at Grays Farm. We're obviously continuing to work with the borough to highlight the importance of connectivity with the existing parish, and particularly looking at walking and cycling routes in that regard. And as I've already said about the Highway 18, we're certainly moving towards trying to do that. I can also tell you that a proposal for about 180 homes at the Ravenswood Village was rejected by Wokingham Borough Council. And whereas we had assumed that there would be an appeal, that date for the appeal has passed. So it rather looks as though they've decided to drop that for the moment. One of the things I really had hoped to be able to report this year was the ongoing work on the Pinewood leases had finally been resolved. Alas, whilst we have made significant progress, the end goal of completing the renewal of the leases has not yet been achieved. We obviously continue to work with the tenants and with Wokingham Borough Council to resolve the differences that remain, and we are optimistic that we will get these completed in this year. And now to our people. Here's our staff. Katie, our parish clerk, who is on the picture here, is ably supported by Sarah, bottom right, and assistant clerk Sharon Way, bottom left. Whilst they're predominantly working at home in line with government guidance, they are certainly ably responding to queries and requests from residents and all the other matters that they deal with. Details how to contact the office are on our website. The grounds team, that the rest of the fellas there and our litter picker, have been working in less than ideal circumstances to improve and enhance the Pinewood site for residents and visitors. And of course, our part-time litter picker has been diligently improving the cleanliness of our part of Crowthorne and reporting on fly tipping and all the other issues that he spots on his way around. Certainly, I would like to say my thanks to the whole team for their continued dedication. And I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank all our councillors for their hard work on behalf of the parish. We've got a really good team of councillors at the moment, and all of them are putting in a lot of work. It's been a really exciting bunch to be working with. Okay, yeah, this year's been exceptionally challenging, but our members have adapted and risen to that challenge to continue to serve our local community. I would also like to thank our borough councillors, Angus Ross, Pauline Hellier-Simmons and Chris Bowring, for their contributions to the parish. In particular, Angus for his unstinting efforts behind the scenes at borough to bring the plight of Pinewood leases to senior staff attention. And on a sadder note, we learnt in January of the passing of one of our former councillors, Jack Schill. Jack served as a parish councillor for more than 10 years, and his dry and insightful observations were always well received. Our deepest condolences go to his wife Sylvia and his family and friends. Looking ahead the next 12 months, we've been working on plans for the lands surrounding the Memorial Hall, which we acquired a few years ago. And you've heard this evening about work to bring forward a men's shed for our community, potentially maybe utilising some of this land or being involved in helping to bring it into public use. And we hope to be able to report more of this in the near future. At Pinewood, our sudden shift to working differently with our admin team mostly based at home has meant that our plans for expanding the parish office have been put on hold. It was our intention to expand the parish office by providing a meeting room so that groups of councillors and other people could have a bit of quiet space. But obviously, with the use of Zoom as an alternative, that's not been necessary. So we need to take stock now and consider what is needed going forward. We also have a project to improve Dickie's Pond on Pinewood site. The project was commissioned in the autumn of 2020 and some preparatory work had been commenced, but the project was delayed by weather conditions. So once the ground conditions improve, we hope our appointed contractor can make a start on desilting the pond to ensure the longer term future of this well-loved area of the Pinewood site. We've also got some further improvements to the adventure play area scheduled to replace a piece of broken equipment and to enhance the play value of the equipment for our youngest guests. It's very, very popular, this area. And we continue to work on our neighbourhood plan to ensure that local residents get a say in how this community develops over the next 15 years or so. Unfortunately, the pandemic has stalled our preparations for a public consultation, not been able to do many of them, but we have nevertheless made some progress with scoping out ideas for the plan. If you're interested in getting involved, and I have to say that it is an objective of neighbourhood plans that the community, not including councillors, sorry, the community members who are not councillors get involved in this. It is a project and therefore it is for a timeline. But please, if you're interested, contact Katie and see how you can get involved. Looking toward the summer, we hope to be able to recommence physical council meetings. We try not to have physical council meetings, but it would be nice for us all to be able to actually see each other and have our normal repartee. And that'll be at the Memorial Hall as the restrictions are lifted. And as always, we warmly welcome our residents to attend our meetings and to get involved with the parish council. So I'm pretty much done. Thank you for attending the meeting this evening. If you have any questions, please raise your hand, and Katie will scroll through you all and call each of you in turn. So thank you very much for listening to my rattle through there, and let's and if you've got any questions on any of the things which we've said, then please let's hear what you have to say. Yes, Peter, you need to unmute, Peter.
Well, have been a member of the NMI cycle group, and we've done many rides through Gorick on our bicycles, and I'm very pleased to see you're doing those paths. When they built the TRL, or started building on the TRL, I applied there to see if we could get a cycle path to Bracknell from there, not going down 9 Mile Ride, but going through past Pinewood. Now, it doesn't actually involve a great distance, because you make use of a public footpath which goes through Peacock Farm and comes across into the new Peacock Estate, where cycle paths are then existing. Is it possible for you to consider that as an option?
I wish we could, Peter. As you probably know, that particular area is in Bracknell Forest, and part of it is, I think part of it is Crowthorne Parish, but or it's in some of the other parishes in Bracknell Forest, and so we would not be the ones to actually address that, unfortunately. I've got Peter Keegan coming in there. Is that to comment on this?
Yeah.
Peter?
Yeah, I've done a bit of stuff on this, and it does belong to Bracknell district, and it's about 1.1 mile of footpath, and they've said there's no money, it can't be done, but I think if there was some pressure applied, at least to put it in planning, because I've seen kids coming along Peacock Lane, and that road is lethal. And there'll be kids going from East Hampstead Park, going to Edgeborough. There'll be kids from Crowthorne going to and Woking Without, going to East Hampstead Park, and using this dangerous road. What they have said, there'll be a cycleway through the new development on the road research, goes through to Bracknell. But Reading Council have found that people live by the law of the least effort. They'll take the shortest route, which is Peacock Lane.
Well,
Sorry.
I think, as I've said, you know, that's outside of our district, and so I'm afraid that there are other groups that you will need to lobby to see whether funding can be made available. We are certainly keen to make funding available as much as we're able to afford for these kind of routes within the Woking and Without area. David, I see you put your hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Ken. Just could I perhaps have 5 minutes on Oaklands Lane? Back in 2019, I dealt with Leslie Foxwell, who was very helpful and very understanding of the issue. But Oaklands Lane, the bit specifically that runs between Leith Close and Keats Way, the cut-through bit there, the bit that wasn't tarmacked and looks like the Battle of the Somme for 3 months of the year. I just wonder where the funding might come from to do something about that. The idea I passed to Leslie, and I actually drew some plans up, and she passed them on, I think, to Wokingham Council, was suggestive of building a tarmac path between Leith Close cut-through up into Keats Way, and it would serve dual purpose. It would serve as a path across all the potholes and the mud, and it would also, if it was raised enough, could act as a sort of sleeping policeman for the white vans and other traffic that uses that for deliveries. Additional to that, there is a piece of footpath that runs from where Leith Close cuts out onto it towards the school, and that is just, it strikes me, it wouldn't cost a lot of money to put that into a reasonable footpath so that the school mums with their toddlers and so on could easily get down there. I mean, it does serve sort of Leith Close, the Conifers, the Brackens. There's probably 200 houses, and without giving away my address, I overlook that cut through, and I can tell you that there's mums with children, there's mobility scooters, there's wheelchairs, there's dog walkers, lots and lots of people use that, and it just seems strange that, given the funding that's been found for other projects, like the Heathlake car park and the cut through on the byway, that you can't find some monies from somewhere to make that small improvement that would affect a lot of people.
Yeah, I think, Angus, did you want to actually comment on this? Did I see? Or Janet? Well,
that might help, Chairman.
sorry, I thought I saw your hand up. Janet, I'd like you to comment.
My hand was up.
So Ken, I was going to say, can we ask Katie, because I know she's had a conversation this week about someone in the Borough Council about Oaklands Lane, given what's going on at the moment. So she may actually have some specific, more up-to-date information.
The impression I got from, I'm not sure Leslie's on here, but Leslie was very helpful and she did pass the information on. And I recall back in 2019 getting something back from somebody in Wokingham saying, what a nice idea. It's good to have constructive suggestions instead of just moaning. And then, of course, everything went quiet. It may be partly the pandemic, it may be funding, but it seems to have just gone away.
So I don't know, Katie wants to comment on any conversation she's had this week, specifically on Oaklands Lane, the clerk.
Yeah, so I spoke to Andrew Fletcher last week, and I think it's fair enough to say that they know that they are not satisfied with the work that was done back end of 2019. I think it would have been, or thereabouts, on Oaklands Lane. It is a difficult situation because the borough don't own the road, but they have an obligation to provide a usable surface for residents who live on the road. But from consultation feedback, there have been many people who want the road surfaced and then equally many who don't. There was due to be a public consultation held at the school in March of last year. There was a date scheduled for it. And of course, when the pandemic hit, all of that got pulled. I know that it is being looked at. I don't know whether Angus has any further update that he can offer on that, but more than happy to feedback, views of residents to the borough, and we can certainly look to work with them to bring forward a solution. But I think the difficulty will be finding a solution that satisfies everybody, because, as I said, many people that live near it don't want it as a cut through with a proper surface, because it will encourage drivers to drive more quickly, but an awful lot of people do use it to access the school, so it is a really difficult one.
Yes, I'll just to add, Katie's covered the great majority of what I would have said. We have some initiatives and various ideas, and as the clerk has said, you're never going to please all the people, and that's why it was decided to have a public meeting. I think maybe now, with the continued delay in being able to have a public meeting, some other form of consultation, so that all the parties do have an opportunity to express their very varied views about what should happen and what would be best and what is affordable. And so I'll take on to have a discussion with the council as to whether, in view of the fact we can't have a public meeting, probably for some time still, whether some other form of consultation, but there is a will to do more.
Sorry, can I just add that I do recall now, it must be old age, I was aware of the meeting that was going to take place at the school. In fact, I was invited along to present my proposal at that, now I remember, and it just got cancelled. Just to be clear, when I spoke to Leslie, mindful of the fact, she said to me at that time that there was a mixed set of views about whether it should be completely tarmacked or not. And mindful of that, my proposal just avoided that question and said, okay, that's too difficult. But the pedestrian crossing across from Leith Close to Keats Way, that could be put in, surely. That's not too much of a cost, and it wouldn't actually encourage a cut through. In fact, it would discourage it, because if it was raised and act as a speed hump, it would slow the traffic down. Because at the moment, you can actually go step straight out from Leith Close onto Oaklands Lane while traffic is coming past, and it's typically white vans that do it. So it is dangerous as it is. I'm surprised nothing's happened. So to be clear, it's not about tarmacking the whole thing. I understand that's a very delicate and sensitive subject, but it's about providing a crossover from Leith Close to Keats for pedestrian traffic, wheelchairs, mobility scooters, and perhaps even cycles. And I'll mute myself now.
Okay, well, thank you for all that conversation. I just would I would like to say, David, as you raised about Leslie. Leslie has actually been quite poorly the last couple of months, and so she's not been as active as she normally is. And so that's not to say that this has been not pursued, but you know, she has always been a powerhouse on these things, and at the moment she's not able to contribute as she would like to do so. Anybody else got any comments for us here this evening? I'm just quickly looking as you're on 2 pages. Well, if that is all that you've got to comment on this evening, then I think it's just left for me to say a big thank you to you all for attending. Certainly absolutely delighted to see so many faces that I recognise, which is lovely. Or you can almost take the view it's the same old groups of people who turn up to things. But no, it's been delightful to see you all. But I've also quite a lot of new faces that I've not seen before, and again, that's really lovely to see you all. The parish council is a very active parish council. You've heard enough from the men's shed and the things that we've been doing to know that, you know, we're active, we're positive, we're doing things, we're not coasting, we're trying to make changes, and we continue to do that. And certainly the group that we have of councillors is motivated and working a lot for your community, our community. So by all means, if you've got any issues, contact us. If you've got anything you want to ask, contact us. If you've got any ideas that you think we might be interested in, contact us. You know, we certainly are very open to hearing people. That doesn't mean to say that we can also always deliver on what you would like, as you heard from the conversation there with David. But nevertheless, we are really keen to engage more with the local community and be delighted to speak with you. So on that note, I think it's my time to say good evening and goodbye. So as I say, apologies that we can't offer you all a small glass of wine or a coffee. So I think, you know, you'll just have to have a DIY coffee evening or a DIY wine evening now. And if you do decide to do that, then, you know, cheers from us. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
That was very good, Peter. You did well.